Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can you hear me, John?
Loud and clear, Rojo.
Good, good, good. Folks, the 2025 Wanda Diamond League season is in the books. There's one big track meet at Worlds. One big track meet left, and that's called the World Championships. You may have heard of it. It's in Tokyo. And John and I have a better chance of winning a gold medal than Josh, Hoey, Yared, Nuguse. They will not be there. John and I will.
Better chance of winning a gold medal? Let's say you have the
Well,
same
we'll
shot.
at least be there. So if every American somehow scratched, they needed another body, you and I could be there. Yes, that's right, folks. Josh, Hoey, and Nuguse go home devastated. Grant Fisher remains winless in Diamond League action. But I'll tell you, was today's loss actually good news for Grant Fisher? There also was good news for Nikki Hiltz, even though she didn't run, even though they did not run today. Emmanuel Wanyoni wins. How about Germany's Frederick Rupert? Historic first. Well, the announcers called it a historic first steeplechase win in the Diamond League circuit for Europe. I'll tell you why that may have been hyperbole. What else am I missing? Let's say Tobogo gets edged by Noah Lyles in a grade 200.
Brittany Brown runs her way onto the World Championship team. She went home devastated from Eugene at the U.S. Championships, but she came back in style as the Diamond League champion and go to the World Championships. So that was fun. Femke Bol, 30-0 career in the Diamond League. Karsten Warholm, another 46-7. Christian Coleman and Joe Kovacs both win the Diamond League titles, and neither of them will be at the World Championships. Do we need to change the rule? Is it fine as it is? Whole lot of stuff to break down today, Robert. Some great, some not so great. We had a bib mix-up in the women's 3,000 meters. Fentaye Belene was actually a winner. She was not announced as the champion. It took everyone a little while to get to the bottom of that because she was wearing the bib of Alashine Baweke. So wouldn't be a Diamond League season. You need some nonsense like that every so often. You know, someone missing a hurdle or, you know, bib mix up or something. You need a little controversy because let's face it, some of these races were not good, but I feel like it was backloaded. Like a lot of the end of the meet races were either close finishes or top stars. It finished with a bang. So kudos to that Wetlklasse. I
just realized I left my notes when I watch these meets, folks. I mean, the brilliance is all there, but I do jot down notes to talk about on the podcast. But I rushed out right before the 800s to pick up my son from the first day of school. Left the notes in there. May have to run out and get them, John. If I just don't like. I'm pretty sure I'll get to most of my brilliant points, but if you don't have a structure to the event, to your recap. Anyways, if you're new to the show, this is Robert Johnson, aka Rojo, co-founder of Let'sRun.com. I'm joined by Jonathan, a staff writer, Jonathan Galt. Weldon Johnson is actually on a plane back. He missed this one. And if you're joining us live on Facebook or YouTube or X, I don't think I loaded up Instagram today, or TikTok. Thank you. This is a special live edition of our Friday 15. The Friday 15 is normally a podcast exclusively for our supporters called members. Join today, letsrun.com/subscribe. All right, let's talk about the men's. Well, let's talk about what was good. You know, what I always say, we need more track. We don't need more track meets. We need more track meets that matter. And you saw that was true today. Because even the announcers, this is the international feed. What are they focused on in event after event? They were focused on the Americans, much more so than normal. Because if Yared Nuguse did not win this race, he was not going to Worlds. If Josh Hoey did not win this race, he was not going to Worlds. If Brittany Brown didn't win this race, she was not going to Worlds. And Brittany Brown was the only one to win it. So it was great drama. And at the end of the show, I think they said, oh, it's sad they're not going. I'm fine with it. Like, sometimes, you know, what was it? 4 years ago, Italy didn't go to the World Cup. Oh, wow. These dumb sports organizers keep thinking, oh, the solution to make every sport popular is let's put everybody in the NCAA basketball tournament. Let's put everybody in the world championships. No, 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 no. I don't like that. The USA meet is one of the best meets in the country. Why? In the world? Because the stakes are so high. And in some levels, they're so unfair. But again, look at the NFL. Our Jonathan Gault, one of the biggest New England Patriot fans on planet Earth, and David Tyree pinned that ball to his head into their perfect season. It wasn't fair, but it was sports.
What do you mean it wasn't fair?
So
how was it? Well, I guess they were holding penalties. If you want to say the Giants were just, grabbing Jarvis Green's throat or Richard Seymour's jersey, maybe. But the outcome of the game, no, I mean, the playoff system there was fair. No, I agree with you. And I like this system of the only way in is to win the Diamond League final, because we say this top three, that's it. Top three or bust at USA's. I think that's the fairest system. And technically there is this backdoor entry into Worlds by winning the Diamond League, but it's so hard to do that it's I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's like something's got to be crazy for you to finish like 4th or 5th at USA's and then win the Diamond League. And I guess 2 or 3 athletes did actually do this in this meet: Joe Kovacs, Christian Coleman, and Brittany Brown. But that's also because some of the top dogs were missing. In the 1500, the favorite for Worlds wasn't missing, Niels Laros, and he wins it. And in the 800, again, the favorite for Worlds, Emmanuel Wanyonyi, was not missing, and he won it. So in the events where everyone shows up, getting that wild card berth is really hard to do. And in some ways, yeah, it's kind of rotten luck for Hoey and Nuguse that they were in events where many of their top competitors decided to show up. But I'm fine with that. Like, look, you didn't get it done at USA's. This is the only option you have left. And I do think it showed a little bit that those two guys seemed to run out of steam the last 100 meters. They both faded. And I think that's part of, you're gearing up for USA's. That is the meet they're peaking for. And then they're like, all right, we'll ramp back down, get some training. And I think maybe you see why someone like Cole Hocker isn't coming over and running a bunch of Diamond Leagues before Worlds, because he wants to stay and just get those training in and sort of regroup. Nuguse and Hoey didn't have that option. They had to come over here. And you can argue like, okay, Hoey ran the 1500 in Silesia, didn't have to. Nuguse ran the 1500 in Brussels last week, didn't have to. They both would have been in the final regardless. I'm not sure. I mean, those races in retrospect, like, did that hurt them a little bit at the end of the race? Maybe. But I'm not convinced either of them would have won that race if they hadn't run those two. What do you make of that, Robert? Should they have just sort of run the races they needed to qualify, or are you okay with them racing a little bit more?
Fine with them racing.
Yeah.
Fine with them racing. And look, I was going to start with the 1500, but Josh Hoey, he had a phenomenal season. An amazing season. And I was appreciating that at the start line. This guy won World Indoors. He ran 142.01. And then he beat Wanyonyi and he beat A-Rop last week. So he beat the very best guys in the world just a few weeks out before Worlds. He can take that home to him. And today, he didn't get the job done. But let's talk about the 1500, because I should have, if it wasn't about Nuguse and Hoey, this would be the main storyline of this meet. As Evan Bollinger on YouTube is saying right now, Laros for goal, let's get real. He was sensational yet again. This is the 20-year-old that his parents told us in Hungary 2 years ago, hey, we used to drive around on vacation in Europe and we'd be listening to your podcast. And we're like, well, your son's pretty damn good. And, he was excited to be in the final at that point. And then he ran and went for the lead. And I was like, wow, man, that was bold. We knew he was talented, but he's got some cojones. And now he wins Prefontaine, nips Nuguse at the line. Okay, what does that mean? But that was his first race of the year. He wins in Silesia, dominant last 100. And this race was basically the same as Silesia, just a dominant last 100. He was just way better. Brussels. He was just way better than everybody else. The last 100 wins by like 3/4 of a second. And you watch that race, there was already a thread last week saying I've seen enough. He's the favorite. I started another thread saying he's the favorite. He does look phenomenal, but I'm not sure 100% he'd be the betting favorite. He'll be the betting favorite. Look, Josh Kerr, I think is extremely underappreciated in some levels and undervalued, because have we forgotten what Josh Kerr's done? He medaled in 2021, correct?
Yep.
Okay. 2022, he didn't win. 2023, he wins the world title. And then 2024, if it wasn't for Cole Hawker, he would have had the perfect season. He was sensational all season long. And he would have won a personal best Olympic record to win the gold. Instead, he got the silver. And this year, he's been pretty darn good. You know, 5th in Kingston, but do you really want to be in shape on April 5th? Then he wins Miami. He wins Philadelphia. Okay, that's May and June. You know, Grand Slam track. And then London, he runs 3:29. So we don't really know where he is. July 29 to September 12th or something. For 2 months, he's laying low. So I think it's going to come down to Laros or Kerr. I'm not I'm fine with people saying Laros is the favorite because we've seen that. We know that he's in shape right now. For all we know, Kerr could be injured or whatever. But I'm saying don't discount Kerr.
I wouldn't discount Kerr, but I'm not discounting the Americans either. Now, Laros's performance this week was, I would say, a slight step up from last week because he ran a personal best, 3:29.20. It's faster than what he ran in the Olympic final last year. It's almost a full second faster than what he ran last week in Brussels. Actually, in fact, it's more than a full second faster. He ran 3:30.58, closed in 12.5 in that race. This race closed in 3:29.20. His last 100 was just as good. 12.5 in a 3:29 race is fantastic. That'll win you a gold medal at Worlds. So that was really impressive to me. That said, I think I'd be a little surprised if Laros is just obliterating everyone in the last 100 at the World Championship final the way he did in Brussels and the way he did today. I think there will be one guy with him. Maybe more, but it could be Kerr for the reasons Rojo outlined. Could be Cole Hawker. We saw him do it last year. And I wouldn't be shocked if it was Ethan Strand either, honestly, the way he closed at USA's. So I think there is going to be someone with him probably. I would be surprised about Jakob. I'm just not sure he's going to run like 12.5 for his last 100. And the other guy who I think is now becoming a bit of a dark horse, if you want to call the Diamond League runner-up a dark horse, is Reynald Chariot, because he has a great last 100. He closed in 12.7 today, which was faster than anyone else in the field, a little slower than Laros. The problem with this guy is he really doesn't put himself in good positions. I think he was 5th with 100 to go. And if you watched any of his races this year, like he's always coming from some tricky spot. I think he's a good bet to maybe pick off someone for the bronze medal or something in the final 100. Don't think I could see him winning the race. And then the other guy I think we need to mention here is Fanuel Koech, who burst onto the scene with that 3:27 in Paris earlier this year. Looked amazing, took down Kerr in London, but he's been okay. He was 2nd and 3rd his last 2 races. So that's not like, oh my God, disastrous, the size falling. But he's going like this a little bit, and Laros is going like this. And I just think, it's his first season competing at this level. It's a long season. Maybe he's running out of gas just a little bit. But yeah, you got to feel great about Laros. He is the favorite, but I think it will be a good race because someone like Kerr is going to raise his game. Cole Hawker's talked a lot about raising his game at Tokyo. Let's see if it happens. And then I think you cannot Strand. And then Koech, who the hell knows with Jonah Koech? Like, we saw what he did at USA's. I'm also very concerned about the hamstring injury that doesn't appear to be improving that much. So we'll see.
The other thing when I was watching this race live that struck me was it's a different ball game when sorry, I'm trying to share the results with everybody. I was paying very close attention to Laros, and he was a little bit boxed in on the inside. It was a smaller field, Diamond League final. I guess it was probably similar to the size of a World's final, though. But I was like, hey, there's not rabbits, although Jakob has been traditionally rabbiting this and taking it out. But I'm like, okay, if Jakob decides not to do this, Laros could be boxed in at this point. These guys, Laros actually, the 3/4 second is a lot, but if you're boxed in, it could be a problem. So it is going to be very interesting, but I just think that, this was a wonderful race for Niels. Yet again, he's got to be sky high coming into this thing and feeling very good about his chances. You talked about the Americans, if they were racing too much. It kind of reminded me actually of a comment they were saying on them. There's two aspects on the Orioles baseball game last night. There's two aspects to this. There's the physical aspect, and then there's the psychological aspect of it. And the Orioles, our main closer is injured. The other closer came in 8th inning, big jam, got everyone out of it. And they're like, oh, they're going to let him pitch the 9th. And then one of the announcers was like, you see this often. People are so jacked up emotionally to get out of the jam. They can't replicate it the next inning. And then he gave up a 2-run homer to your Boston Red Sox.
Well, yeah, Robert, I got to give you credit for emotionally getting onto this podcast right after your Orioles lost 4 in a row to the Red Sox. They were swept.
Oh, we already lose today. I forgot.
So yeah, you've already lost today. So I respect the dedication to showing your face.
And so look, Nuguse, there was some part wondering to me. He likes a fast pace. Is he going to try to slam the pace on this? And he didn't. We've seen with Jakob at Worlds, it's extremely hard to push the pace and win at this level. You've got to be so much better than everybody else. But he was sort of, up in a good spot. I would think nothing tactically hurt him, but with coming off the final turn, everyone's there. And I just looked at his face, and I was, as around in the final turn, I'm like, oh, he's done. Like, he looks like he's in the hurt box. He runs 3:30.84, 3:29.20 wins it. So he's 1.64 seconds back.
Yeah. And Robert, tactically, he did let Laros get the jump on him on the back straight with about 2:20, 2:10 to go. We've seen Nuguse do that before, but also maybe he just wasn't feeling great at that point. There are sometimes like the Olympic final, feel like maybe you hold off Cole Hawker on the back straight, there's a different outcome. This one, he might have just been like, I wish I could counter that move, and I can't. But he did let Laros get into better position.
And it was kind of a weird season for Yared Nuguse. Like, what do we make of it? I mean, here he is outdoors in the 1500, second in Kingston Grand Slam track, second in Miami. So the first one of those was won by Wen Young. The second one was won by Kerr. Then he was 6th Grand Slam Philly, which was surprising. Then he was 2nd at Paris, 5th at USA's, 1st in Silesia, and then 3rd in Brussels. And then now, 7th?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was all that different, up until USA's and maybe even through USA's, because I think his performance wasn't all that different from last year, maybe until the last 100. It's just his competition improved, so he couldn't front run his way onto the team. And, after Monaco last summer, he was only 4th in that meet. He did run 3:29.1, but going into the Olympics, I was like, I don't think I had him medaling. I had Jakob and Hawker and Kerr all ahead of him, and maybe someone else, maybe one of the Kenyans as well. So he had a few decent races. If he just holds on or times out a little bit better, he wins pre-classic, he wins the Bowerman Mile. He won Diamond League, and he won another Diamond League in Silesia. He's consistently, this was really his worst race of the season, I would say. This one of Philadelphia Grand Slam. But he's had a lot of pretty good races. Just the competition is really tough in the US these days. And he found out the hard way. He found that out the hard way at USA's. When it was like, oh, everyone, we thought he was in a league of his own with Hawker, just those two well ahead of everyone. USA showed that not to be the case. So, yeah, it's going to be disappointed, but The guy broke a world record indoors, so that's nice to have in the mile. He got a nice PB in the 800 meters, 144.7, though he probably could have run 143 last year if he's in shape to do that. It's okay.
They can all run 143 according to John.
I mean, if you can run 327, you can run 143. Stand by that.
Okay.
But
So
I mean, it comes down to USA's, and he miscalculated and cost him a spot on the team, unfortunately. And that's sometimes you get judged by fine margins. And he made a gallant effort to come and make the team, just didn't quite work out.
It's just, I mean, I was thinking, what do we make of the season? But nobody's winning these, except for Laros, I guess, is winning all of their races. These guys are all very good. If you're going to start racing in April, you're probably not going to win them all. And you're seeing in the comments right now why fan is short for fanatic. There's some ridiculous comments here. Harrison Fraser, why is Nuguse leaving it to the final 200 in the first place? He was never going to win with those tactics. Well, isn't that what he did just last week, John?
Well, in Silesia, you mean? But yes, he was just against a weaker field. Look, the problem is Niels Laros is fitter, perhaps quite a lot fitter than Nuguse at this moment.
You want him to run away from the front of it? I mean, how many guys in the world run away from the fields with rabbits from the front? The only guy that I really know that does that is Jakob. I mean, Nuguse tried that. Nuguse tried
Laros ran 329 too. Like, what is he? How's he going to run? Is he going to run 327? Like, how are you going to run away from a guy who can run a 12.5 at the end of a 329.2 race?
He ran 329 in a fairly slow race at 1200. What was the last lap, John? Because I was thinking, oh wow, they're only going to run. I was thinking, like what I call, and then I was like, wait a minute, but I'm like, these are best guys in the world. They're going to close pretty fast. And then the other comment I'm getting here is from WZ. Nuguse is always the groomsman and never the groom. That's just not true. He won an NCAA title. He's won more Diamond Leagues. How many? 3, 4, 5?
4.
He's won 4 Diamond Leagues. So it's just one of the beauties of sports, also one of the bad things. It's like only one quarterback can win the goddamn Super Bowl every year. So until Lamar Jackson does, and if he never does, he'll be viewed as a loser. Dan Marino will always be viewed as a loser. Sorry for you. John's rolling his eyes. We've got an email. I want to apologize to the emailer who has the children who does not like it when I use the word's name in vain. I'm not really blaming the man upstairs. I'm just saying the word.
I know you're not. It's just an unnecessary amplifier. But anyway.
Well, it's like when I call Nikki she. I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just natural. It just comes out of my mouth.
Somehow, yeah. All right, I think that's enough on the 1500. We're not going to talk about every single other event.
So let's go to the 800.
Yeah.
The commentators on the international feed, Cram and Chris Dennis, they're like, well, Hoey traditionally likes to go out really hard. He didn't quite do that last time. And then this one goes out. He's definitely out slower. He was in like 6th place at the 200 meter mark. Try to pull up the splits for this one. And what'd you think of that? Because I had an instant reaction to his tactics.
I was concerned when I saw that. I was like, you don't want to be like maybe leading, but I think you want to be in contention. And he went through in 50.2 at halfway, which put him 6th place. But I was just like, he's a little further back. I know he likes to be kind of close to the front. Everyone wants those positions, so it's not easy to get there. But I thought something was up when I saw him at 6th at 400, Robert.
Okay. I thought the opposite. I can see why you thought that, but I was like, I didn't want him going for broke and trying to shove the pace down and really go for times, like getting right on Wanyoni's shoulder like I've seen in the past. So he was a little farther back than I would have liked. I mean, the official splits have him at 300 meters in 6th place, 200 meters, 7th place to 200, 24.3, 6th and 37.2. Wanyoni was 23.9 and 26.6. When I saw the 400 time of 49 pop up for the rabbit, I was pretty pleased. I was like, okay, good. Wanyoni's gone out super hard. This might play into Hoey's hands. So he was farther back than I would have liked at 200, but I thought, okay, this is good. I can live with this. I would rather him be trying somewhat what he did last week versus the past, just shoving the pace down. And then he just didn't have it. And, last 100, people were debating whether he and Nuguse just gave up. I think Hoey finished 8th, Nuguse finished 7th. You say they finished 8th and 7th, but it's still, they ran his Diamond League final. He runs what? He's a half second faster than Yared, Nuguse, Cole Hawker, or Josh Kerr ever run in their lives. 144.2. By the way, Bryce Hoppel was next to last, 143.78. It's just extremely competitive. So I don't think he was winning this race under any scenario. It was interesting up front when Yoni had this gap, and then the field lines up behind him, and you just got to remember, everyone else would lose. He always has something left in the last 100. Bergen of Britain pulled up right next to him, and when he holds him off, 142.37 to 142.42. A-Rop right there, 142.57. Sajati, 142.84. It was pretty cool finish.
But a great race for Bergen. I mean, he's got to come away thinking, hey, I can beat this guy at Worlds. I know, Wenyoni's the toughest guy to beat in the final 100, but he was right there. And I guess Hoey, if you look purely by the splits, 50.2, that's actually, he was slower at 400 in Brussels. In Lausanne when he won. He was 50.4 in that race, and he was 50.2 today. The difference was Wenyoni was leading at 49.9 in Lausanne, and Hoey was third at that point in the race. Today he was sixth, I think fifth once you remove the rabbit, but he was 0.7 of a second back. So maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I was just thinking, it would have been nicer if he was a little further up. And then I just kept waiting for him to move up into position. He just didn't quite have that. And I think the reason, you could say, he ran these 2 races beforehand, but also it's just this thing's tough. It's a really difficult event, and he ran a great race, probably his best race of the season last week in Lausanne. You can't always expect that sort of level. It's very hard to just say, I ran my absolute best race of the season. He'd basically need to run that again today. And it's just hard to be at that level every single week. It's a very tough event. So I think it's a 2025 season to be very proud of for Josh Hoey. 142.01, winning World Indoors. He's the second fastest American of all time. And it's just, America's got 4 or 5 really outstanding 800-meter runners right now. And, he didn't run it quite right at USA's, went out a little too aggressively. It's he had a better, I was going to say, did he have a better year than Nuguse? Nuguse won a Diamond League, but I would say Hoey World Indoors, and with his 142.01, I would say he probably did have a better year. I guess he didn't break a world record, though. So, I mean, Hoey, Nuguse, it was the mile, but Nuguse broke a world indoor record this year.
LG in the comments, to me, Wenyoni looks beatable, though. He's not running away from that field. I mean, we know he's beatable because he lost in Lausanne last week. And I'm worried about that, too. I sort of want, it's like, I remember when Rudisha was on top, maybe nervous. He was going to try to front run the Olympics. I'm like, you have to be so much better if I want to do it. I want to have the results. I actually feel like Wenyoni deserves gold. But he's lost 3 races this year. Second in Kingston, third in Rabat. But then after that, he's been first in Oslo, first in Stockholm, first in Monaco, first in London, then second in Lausanne, again first today. But he had a rabbit. He's not going to have a rabbit in Worlds. Of course, how do you play it? If I'm him at Worlds, I don't go for if he wants to front run, which is what he seems to like to do, that's fine. But I don't go for broke. I go out and slow it down a little bit, make the people behind me jostle and stuff like that. I don't think
100%. Go out and 49.8 to 50.5 or something, but have the lead and just control it. And if someone tries to pass, you hold them off. And I think there are so many other good guys who are going to be just spending energy trying to pass around or get in position. Having that advantage for, Wenyoni, a guy who's comfortable at the front, he won the Olympics by 1/100th of a second last year. And it was because he had the lead the whole time. He ran the shortest distance. So I think that's how you do something similar this year.
And let's talk about Bergen. I mean, this kid was an age group ace. I mean, remember, Max Bergen right now is 23 years of age. He was the Cooper Luckenhouse before Cooper Leckenhouse. 2019, he would have been 17, 145, 144 in 2022, in 2020, 144 in 2021, 143. He's been running great, but this was a breakthrough. 8th in the Olympics last year, 143.8. This year, he's already run, well, 3rd in London, which is PB, 142.36. He comes close to that. Here's his results. 2nd in Rabat, 4th in Paris, 11th in Monaco, 3rd in London, wins the British trials, 4th in Lausanne, and then almost wins today. He's got to be feeling fantastic. Great race for him, right there with the big guys. He beats A-Rup, etc. What I want to know is, where was Cooper? Mr. Leckenhouse. I assume he was in Texas. They've already started school. Do they let him out? Like, can he get a hall pass? Like, or does he, like, is he allowed to, like, go to Coach Capo's, like, office and, like, hey, I have a job and I make like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and I need to watch this race because I have an important meeting in a few weeks about this job. So I need to watch this. Or you don't really need to watch it live. But if it was me, I would kind of watch it live. So I would, even as a fan, if I wasn't running in the Worlds, I might sneak out, time my bathroom break, if I could raise my hand, get the bathroom pass, and then whip out my portable phone called portable TV called an iPhone nowadays. So back then you had to like hide a little phone. I had a battery powered phone, John, for playoff games and stuff. Sony with a little magnifying glass. It was pretty cool. But do you think you watched it live?
Do I think he watched it live? Probably not, because it's happening like during school hours, or he's going to have practice or something. Like, it's not of 100% importance for him to watch that race live, though I'd recommend he watch it, between now and Tokyo. I'm sure he will. All right. Shall we move to some of these women's distance races? I mean, the women's 8 and women's 15 were also very compelling races. I think this women's 1500, Robert, can you remember someone tying up as badly in a Diamond League as Jessica Hull did that last 100? I mean, that was painful to watch. I respect her for going for it. She was on the lights or close to the lights with 200 meters to go, and the lights were set to 3:52. So clearly she was hurting with 100 to go, but I'm like, okay, she's going to win this. She's just not going to get the time she wanted. Instead, I hand timed it. For some reason, the splits they give out, the race analysis, she was like the one person they didn't have enough splits for. But I hand timed her last 200 meters in 35.6, which, that is like running with a piano on her back. And Nelly Chepchirchir, who won the race, she was dying too. She closed in 33.6. Like, that's not a good last 200 meters to win a Diamond League. But yeah, Hull just, she went for it and cost herself some money. Cost, unfortunately for her, for Australia, they were hoping to get a 4th spot at the World Championships, open up that wild card so Georgia Griffith could get it. She doesn't get that either. She just went out a bit too aggressively. She said that she'd been doing some hard training, I think, and maybe wasn't ready to run 3:52. So unfortunate for her. I think she's still in a good spot for Worlds. I think she just misjudged things a little bit. But you seem like you came away thinking, maybe we're thinking bronze might be on the table for Nikki Hiltz, given Georgia Hunter-Bell doing the 800. And now are you thinking silver could be possible, or how'd you take this race in?
Yes. I mean, if you're a Nikki Hiltz fan, how do you not watch this? I think if everyone in the world lines up in the 1500, Nikki Hiltz might not even be in the top 8. She'd probably be a 7th or 8th. I mean, if you put Beatrice, these 10,000 meter runners, they can beat her. Stefan Hassan, if she was still back in the 15, probably could still do it. Beatrice Chibet, Gudolf Sagai, but they're not in it. Georgia Hunter-Bell is not in it. And the Faith Kipyegon, unbeatable to me. But then the only other person sort of clearly ahead of Nikki would have been Jessica Hull. And then Hull looked to me very good, though. I thought she looked fantastic for 1,100, pretty good for 1,300, and then just the wheels came off. So I was really impressed by her just going for the time. And I thought, wow, she's trying. And she said this to me in Philadelphia and stuff like this, and in many interviews. I'm good at getting dragged from Faith to these levels. I've got to learn to do it myself. And I was like, wow, she's really trying to do it. So, but if you just look at the results, the last 200, everything fell apart and whatever. But to me, the more encouraging thing for Nikki was Nikki did beat Nelly Chepchirchir last week. And Nelly Chepchirchir had been undefeated. And I was wondering, well, is there some chance that was just a bad race for Nelly Chepchirchir To me, no. We've seen it twice. Nelly Chipchurcher is struggling to run faster than 356. Nikki seems to me that she always is running 355, and I think that if Nikki gets their peak right, could run faster, possibly the U.S. record. So I do think that silver's potentially on the table, and I don't know. Is Nikki now the? Oh, there's Welteji, and Welteji's not here. So I'm just wondering if there's no Welteji, is Nikki the favorite for bronze?
Yes, in my opinion, because I'm with you on Chepchirchir. We've seen her run 2 times the last week or so. She's good, but yeah, I think like 350. What was her time today? It was 356.99, I think, which is a season's best. Her PB is 356. Nikki's run 355 high or 356 low 3 times this year, so I think Nikki's just a better and beat her last week in Brussels. So I think Nikki's a better runner.
The game
than
is saying
Chepchirchir
355
right
won't trouble Faith, Welteji, Segay, and Hall. Well, Segay's not running the 1500, so
and Welteji might be injured. Yeah. So
and particularly well, Nikki went with the pace kind of right in the Olympics last year. Nikki sometimes will run quote unquote a cowardly race, like where they stay back and just kicks. She doesn't like to go. Nikki doesn't like to go out really hard. Getting frustrated myself because I can't say they, and then people are saying it's intentional. But her kick is always there. So, particularly if Nikki goes for bronze, I'm almost certain they're going to get it. I shouldn't say.
Well, I don't expect. I'm not sure I'd expect Nikki to go with Kipyegon. I think that's the one athlete you just say, let her do her own thing, and I'll run for a medal.
Okay. The women's 8 was great if you're a Swiss fan. We actually had, I guess I should have, we could have played out the drama. If Addie Wiley had won this race, Addie would be going to Worlds, but we knew that wasn't going to happen because she hasn't been in good form. And everyone was like, we should have discretionary spots. And Addie Wiley definitely deserves to go to Worlds. Why? She finished next to last. Admittedly, that's still 140. No, she finished last. That's 159.14. But I've seen nothing from Addie Wiley since USA's that indicates to me that she's better than the 3 women who beat her. You know, the top 3 at USA's who can run 159. But up front, this was an interesting race. Swiss hero, Audrey Waro, runs yet another PB. I mean, how many PBs in a row is this? 2 in a week. 155.91 wins it. Holds off Georgia Hunter-Bell, who has a great close, 155.96. Also a PB for her. Her PB was 156.28. French PB for Renee Bourgeon, 156.97. And actually, interesting, Shafika Maloney, who got 4th in the Olympics, this was a personal best for her. And she's only 4th in the Diamond League final, 157.29. So some good running up front. But
yeah,
when I watched this race, it made me question, why is Georgia Hunter-Bell only doing the 800?
Well, she'd been running really well until a couple days ago. Audrey Waro Waro had been running like she ran 157 a couple times, but until a few days ago, she wasn't like viewed as like this massive, serious medal contender, like second silver or bronze. I mean, I would have had Hunter-Bell as either second or third behind Hodgkinson and Sige Daguma, who was Sige Daguma supposed to run this race? Where has she been recently? She hasn't raced since the pre-classic, which she won. So I think that's another Ethiopian you've got questions about. Where are they at? I don't think it was a crazy decision to just focus on the 800. And also by scratching that, she did let one of her training partners in the 1500.
I would run both, I think. But Waro is now second in the world. I mean, Keeley's 154.74, Waro 155.91, Hunter-Bell 155.96. Daguma, if she's injured, I mean, it is interesting to me on that. Look, a few things. If I'm Hunter-Bell, I think she needs to run Worlds differently. I didn't, this is maybe nitpicking, But she ran a lot of the race sort of on the outside of lane 1, run some extra distance. But her final 150 is always so good. Her kick is so insane. I almost might be tempted to tell her, get in on the rail, get in last, and just don't move. Don't do anything until the final 200 and just weave around them. Just mow them down. You're not winning anyways, so you don't need to worry about position. But you don't want to run 7 extra meters. It's 7 meters a lap from lane 1 to lane 2. So if she's in the outside of the lane for 2 laps, it's going to be 7.5 meters or whatever it is. So just don't do anything and just let it rip.
So, okay, that's interesting. So I was thinking, I'm like, oh, she's probably too far back. That was what came back to bite her. It's hurt her in a couple of races this year. And you're just saying, go even further back and just make one big move in the 800. Because the way
give up on gold. Give up on gold. Now, she may not want to do that. She's putting all her eggs in this basket. Maybe she's seen something in practice and she thinks Keely's vulnerable. I don't know why she would think that, but maybe she thinks my kick deep down, I'll kick her.
She just likes to run the 800 because it's fun. But we saw it today. She just got jammed up behind a few women. Like we saw, I think Philadelphia, the Grand Slam, we saw it there. And the same thing here. She's got a lot of juice in her legs the last 200, but these women in front of her are dying. So she needs to get around them and she'll have to chop her steps or something like that or slow down and then move to the right to get around them. And that allowed Wero to get the jump on her. And when Wero's running 155, it's hard to run her down when it's a race that fast. Like Hunter Bell ran 155 as well. It was a really good, like, you don't want to knock her too much. She ran a personal best. She almost won the thing, but there are fine margins in this event. And that is the risk you take when trying to come from behind is you're going to have to deal with some of that debris in the last 200. And I think that did cost her the win today.
The splits are a little bit, we've been seeing this when we see this a lot in the 800, but they just don't physiologically make sense. The way the women run the 800 reminds me of how the men used to run it 15, 20 years ago. 56.8 in the first 400 for Hunter Bell, then a 30, and then basically a 29 flat, 29.1 or whatever it is on the way home. She goes 14.8, 14.3. Whereas Wero went 14.8, 14.8. So did a pretty good job of holding on.
All right. Let's move to the men's 3,000 meters. This was Grant Fisher's chance to win the Diamond League, to win his first Diamond League, and to get Cooper Tier a spot at the World Championships. And I forgot
about Cooper Tier. Cooper Tier goes home devastated. Should I start a thread on that?
Cooper Tier stays home devastated. Yeah, unfortunate for him. And I feel like I've seen this race from Grant Fisher a lot in 2025. He trusts his kick the last 100, and a few times it worked. It worked in the first Diamond League in Kingston. It didn't work.
No, Diamond League.
Diamond League, Grand Slam track meet. But it didn't work in Miramar against Andrew Koskarin. It didn't work at USA's. Granted, that one, I think he tried to get out a little bit earlier and just couldn't because he was boxed in, but it didn't work against Holhocker. It didn't work last week against Isaac Kameli, and it didn't work here against Gressier, and it almost worked. Jimmy Gressier wins at 7:36.78. Grant Fisher is 0.03 of a second behind in 7:36.81. So my take from this is Fisher has a pretty good kick. He's going to be close in pretty much all of these races, kicking against the guys in the 3K and the 5K and the 10K. But if he wants to be winning it, like if he wants to win the World Championships, do you think that's his best chance to just say, I'm going to leave it to the last 200? Or does he need to be a bit more decisive? Because even this one, he didn't leave it to the last 200. He left it to the last 100. Like he could have taken the lead with about 200 to go, but who was it that moved by here? I got to get my notes here, Robert, because I feel like he had the option and he just was like, no, I'm going to wait. Yeah, he was second on the back straight at the bell lap. Almgren comes by him just before 200 to go, and he gets position. And I guess what I'm asking you is, like, if you're Grant Fisher, how do you run the World Championships? Because I'm just thinking, obviously Jakob's going to be there, or you think Jakob's going to be there. We'll see what happens with him. But like, if you're Fisher, do you just go for the strategy that he used to sweep the Olympic trials last year and just take off with the K to go or 1600 to go and try to drop everyone? Or do you keep doing this and trust the last 100 and you let other people into it? Or do you just go with like 400 to go and make a push there? Like, what do you think is his best path to victory? I'm not sure there is one if Jakob's Jakob, but if he's not, like, let's say there's no Jakob, how do you coach him up?
Well, first of all, the good news is he's got 2 races, 10 and 5. In the 10, I think you roll your dices. Who's going to outkick him in the 10,000?
Well, we could say that. You could say that last week. Who's going to outkick him in Lausanne? Isaac Kameli just happened to run the race of his life. Who's going to kick him? I wouldn't have bet on Jimmy Gressier outkicking him. The problem is when you let it go a little bit slower, you let these guys in, and someone's going to have a good day, and someone might be able to outkick you. Now, I'm not like, if he takes off, let's say it's a 10K, and he takes off with a K to go or 800 to go, maybe one of the Ethiopians sticks with him. Like maybe Kajelcha can stick with them, and he just ends up towing them along, and then they come by him with 100 to go. That could happen as well. Both of these strategies, I feel like, carry risk, but I do feel like sometimes he needs to be a bit more decisive. I saw a bunch of people on the live thread saying he's being reactive. He's just waiting until like the very last minute. At that point, someone's already gone by him. And I think that is the correct criticism. I do think with like, he should have been doing what Almgren did. Just take off with 200 to go. And okay, yeah, you're going to have to, you might have to lead the last 200.
But I don't know. It's tough. What do you mean? He does the work at USA's, and he got burned when he did the work at USA's. 10,000. He did the work. And guess what? Nico Young.
Right. That's a fair point to make. That one carries risks as well. And Nico Young, he's going to be in both of those races with Fisher at the World Championships.
There's a reason why Grant and the announcers, there was fake news. That was one of my notes. I remember that. The announcers, they clearly had read Chris Innes, they clearly read John's previews. Like, I was stunned to hear that Grant Fisher has never won a Diamond League. I found that out this week. I'm like, yeah, from Jonathan Galt. And he's like, he's been so close on so many times. And I pushed back on that when John writes these articles. He's always come close. He's never come close. Maybe one time. Every other time, yes, he's been second or third, but this was the closest he's ever been. Like normally he's like, if he's second, he's like a second back or 3/4 of a second back. It really wasn't that close. When he got smoked by Kameli last week, it really wasn't that close. He was beaten decisively in that race. But there's a reason why he's never won one of these races. He's not as fast as these guys are in this flat out sprint. I know it's not about pure 1,500 meter speed, but Jimmy Gressier is a better 1,500 meter runner than Grant Fisher. His PR is 3:32.71. He's run 12:51 in the 5,000. He's run 59:45 in the thing. And if someone like Jimmy Gressier can outkick you, there is a dilemma. He cannot, he's like Graham Blanks. He cannot afford to let it just go totally tactical. He will lose. Definitely lose the race.
No. I think that's the wrong take on this, though. When you're saying he's not as fast as these guys, yes, he is. Where was Mahari today? Like, he's as fast. Like, he doesn't have that game-changing speed that he's a lot better than everyone else. I think he's competitive. He's always in the mix, and he's always second or third. But he's not like a cut above this. He's not so good at kicking that there isn't going to be one or two guys who might be able to kick by him. And maybe that's just the strategy, and you say, I keep showing up, and it's probably going to get me a medal because I'm good enough to kick and get a medal. He showed it twice last year. And maybe if everything works out exactly great, it could be the gold medal. Whereas, I'm thinking about the 10K as well. Another guy we didn't talk about, like, if he just takes off with like 800 to go in that 10K, Arago, he's probably, that's great. I'll just sit on you and then I'll outkick you. Like he outkicked him in Paris last year. So I don't know. I think it's just tough. I don't know if there's really a great option, but I do think maybe being a little bit more decisive when it, like in this race, going with 200 to go, maybe probably was better served, but that's also easy to say.
He almost won it.
He did. Right.
He was very close, but the fact that he's losing to Jimmy Gressier, to me, it's kind of disturbing. But I thought, you know what? I'm a kind of a critic of this guy. I'm going to make him a t-shirt when he wins the goddamn gold. It's like Gerard Hartman, the famous physical therapist. He had all the pictures up on the wall. Well, no, like you always talk about Paula Radcliffe. Why isn't her picture on the wall? He's like, because she's too talented. I'm not putting a picture up until she's a global champion. So Fisher, same thing. I was like, Fisher's going to lose all these races and he's going to prove Robert wrong. He's going to win Worlds. I think he could. It's very close between these guys. We've seen it last year at Worlds. You don't want to be doing the work. You do not want to be doing the work. The Ethiopians, now the problem is, the Ethiopians did all the work, including Mahari, including Aragawi did some of that work last year. True or false in the Olympic final? Was he one of the guys pushing it? Didn't they all push so. It?
And the other thing is,
he still beat Fisher. So what does Fisher do? He needs a somewhat. None of these guys in almost any of his events are good enough to be doing all the work and feel confident that they're going to win. Fisher's best case scenario is someone else makes it fast, and then you might want to try like an extended kick from 1,200 to 1,000 out and see what happens. But if it's already pretty fast, he could just take his chances. Now, the problem is Aragawi, who I've pointed out since 2021, he's younger than Grant Fisher, and he's always finishing right ahead of Grant Fisher. What's not to like about Aragawi? He's run 7:21 for 3,000. 7:21. That's faster than Fisher. True or false, John?
I mean, by 1 second. Grant's run 7:22.
He's run 12:40 for 5,000. That's faster than Fisher. He's run 26:31. That's faster than Fisher. He's run, and this year, he's run second at World Indoors. He's won the Diamond League in Shanghai. He was second in the pre-10,000, and he's won a cross-country meet. Now, again, we have not seen him since July 5th when he ran the pre. That's we don't know what's been going on. And in that race, he lost to Mahari, who Fisher killed today. So Mahari, this is why I said at the beginning of the show, is it good news for Grant Fisher? I think it is. I don't expect Grant Fisher to lose. I don't want to call Gracier a spare, but like, I think the rounds will tire these other guys out. World is not a 3,000. It's a 5,000. It's going to be hot and humid. I don't think Gracier is there in the kick. Like this race would have, if they run the same type of race at Worlds, I think that Fisher wins it because it's a 5,000. It's hotter, which makes it more like a 6,000 or 7,000, and he outkicks these guys and he wins it. So I think that's a big bonus for Fisher there, and the 10,000 too. So if I'm Fisher, I don't really change much. I just think it's 3,000, whatever. Yeah, we can say he should have pushed it more, but look, Cheptegei's gone. He's the only guy that really seems unbeatable to Fisher to me. Mahari's not. He won the Ethiopian 10,000 trials. Is not running. He's running the 5. And this actually might be good news for Fisher because Fisher, what's Mahari going to do now? Is he just going to let it go? And he got outkicked by these guys. So are the Ethiopians?
Yeah, I think he's the guy who really should be worried and saying, "Oh, I need to force a faster pace," because this was a slower tactical race and he didn't have it.
If I was Fisher, he's Nike, and I guess Graham Blanks is New Balance. But I might go to Graham Blanks. If one of these races, if no one's pushing it, and say, hey, Graham, if it's really like a joke race in the 10,000 and no one's pushing it, you take it with a mile to go. You get it going, and I'll take over at 1,000 or 1,200 and just try to squeeze it down from there.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, for Fisher, second and 2 Diamond Leagues, those are two pretty strong throwings, especially this one was a bit stronger field than last week. And remember, he got beat in the London Diamond League right before the Olympics last year by Dominic Labalu. And then when it came time for the kicking for the medal in Paris, he beat Labalu. So I think I trust, like, more than most of these guys, I trust that Fisher will be there kicking for a medal in both the 10K and 5K. And
absolutely,
I'm not sure how many of these other guys, like, do I trust that Mahari's definitely going to be there? I thought going into this one, but no. Do I trust that Gressier is going to be there? Like, I think he'll be there in with a chance. And then it's like, does he have it on the day? And is he decisive? Is he put himself in position? But no, I think Fisher, even though he didn't win any U.S. titles, even though he didn't win any Diamond Leagues this year, I think he's still in a good spot. And I trust that he will peak correctly for the championships because he usually does.
Right. I think there's a decent chance he wins gold.
Yeah.
Folks, people saying they buy a Fisher shirt. This is the shirt I've wanted to make. Those of you watching live, it's a beautiful shirt. I made it original in the red and white of the Bowerman Track Club colors. It's got a fish on the, for those of you listening to the podcast or supporters, it's got a fish on the left-hand side, or well, if you're looking at the shirt on the left-hand side, and then it's got an ER, Fisher. And underneath it, it says 725, 1246, 2633 American records. And it's got 2 medals underneath it. Those are to signify the Olympic medals.
Got to update those American records. He's run 722 and 1244 now.
See, that's why I didn't make it, because the records would be broken and then the shirt would be worthless. And then if he wins gold, nobody wants. Well, I guess I didn't have a color of those. So tell me in the chats, do you like that shirt design or not?
Okay.
So we've done the 8s, done the 15s. Women's 3000, I think you mentioned it. It was kind of interesting in the sense of, I mean, last lap we had
another American runner-up, second place in both the men's and women's 3000s.
Joe said Andrews was kicking for the win, and the announcer seemed stunned that she might actually pull this off. But Joe said Andrews ran, I mean, a great race, 840.95. Fentayu Belagné wins it in 840.56 to 840.95. And, you know, if you were surprised, oh, by the way, the announcer said that Lakina Aminbob of Ethiopia won. And they said that Alisine Baweki won. Baweki was actually 5th, 842. The reason why there was confusion is these women, I don't know why, they don't even run for the same shoe company. They put on each other's bibs. So the announcers had it wrong the whole race. And even the timing people had it wrong the whole race. Then when the race was over, someone on the Let's Run forum realized it was wrong. John saw that and wrote an article about it. And then before the meet was over, they were announcing the right winner. So the winner does get a diamond card, a Worlds wild card, because she wasn't going to Worlds. But if you were surprised that, you know, that an American Andrews was kicking for the win, you really should have been, because, I mean, yes, it's surprising on the one hand. American has never, ever medaled in the global level in the 5,000. But Andrews had the best 5,000 meter PB of anyone in this field at 1425.37. That actually makes her 7th in the world. So even though the world record is 1358, there's only 6 women between 1358 and 1425. And none of those 6 women were in this race. Agnes Ngedic, Gudov Sagai, Ferwani Hailu, Badakleti, Berkey Hailu. So Andrews was the fastest. And then there was only 2 women with PBs under 1430 in this race. Baweki, who we said was 5th, and Hirut Mashesha, where I don't know where she finished. So, but by all means, Andrews should have been PRing, but you could tell she was proud. I think she struggled in the past with sort of underperforming in races. Good effort here. But if you'd done your homework, you wouldn't have been surprised by this, because on paper, she should have been competitive, and she was. But by the way, Full Track, I didn't realize this. They put up their athletes lounge thing where you watch the race, and Trey Hardy's talking about it, and some women were talking about it, and Cintra's talking about it. They seem stunned. They're like, wow, she's up there. I'm like, well, you guys didn't obviously do your homework.
Well, yeah, let's be honest about why she was up there, Robert. This field was pretty terrible for a Diamond League final. But she ran a good race. Like,
this was the Diamond Plus discipline, which means they've added extra prize money to try to entice people to run here. $50,000 for first. And to me, part of this was like indictment of Grand Slam track. You're like, oh, if you put the money on the line, it's going to make it more important. Well, not if it's right before Worlds. It does stun me that some of these people don't go for the 50,000, but I guess they figure someone else is going to show up. What?
Right. Beatrice Chibet wouldn't show up, just jog around and blast everyone at the last 200 and collect 50K. Like, she would win this race handily. She could run it as a workout and win 50K. It's kind of crazy.
But maybe she doesn't. Maybe she thinks someone else good's going to show up. Or maybe she doesn't want to jump. The way these escalator clauses work, let's say she's got a $50,000 escalator in her contract for winning Worlds, so she doesn't want to come in here. I was thinking about this. I'm like, you're sure, you don't know who's going to show up, and then you go to Worlds. Somehow you think this might have affected you for Worlds, and Faith beats you at Worlds. So you probably lose out on $50,000 bonus, because the bonus for winning Worlds is probably more than 50K, and that's staged in your contract normally through the next Olympic cycle. So I kind of saw it, but as weak as some of these fields were, I was like, this is kind of surprising to me. Like the 14-20, if I'm the 14-18 girl who's going to get slaughtered at Worlds, I'm like, Ethiopia, please let me go here and run this race so I can get the 50K.
Right. Thinking about it though, with the absence of these Ethiopians like Welteji and Aragawi and Daguma, I need to reach out to some agents and make some calls about why they have been absent, because if one of them's gone, you think, okay, maybe they're injured. And to be fair, like, Teji was showing up on start lists and then not running. So that to me is like, okay, maybe there was an injury. But then also sometimes the federation doesn't want their athletes racing like right before Worlds. So maybe the federation's involved. I don't know. But yeah, that's my job to try to get some answers before we head to Tokyo and figure out why these Ethiopians are MIA.
And what event is Berke Highlam? I mean, she's run 14, I think 24 this year, but she was only 7th in Zurich. No, she ran today in the 1500. So maybe she.
Right. I mean, she went out with Hull, and she's another. I mean, she faded pretty badly. I just think I've seen that happen before with her as well. She goes out a bit aggressively, and maybe.
So I was like, why did she run? Well, she's probably not confident. She was DNF at pre, and she runs the 1500 and runs 59. So you think, a 1424 girl could easily win 15,000. Not if you're not in 1424 shape anymore. So Berke Highlam was at the meet. She just ran the 15 and didn't do anything there. So if you're only running 359, 300, you're not beating Josette Andrews today. So good race for Andrews.
Steeples, the men's steeple was quite entertaining. Frederick Rupert. Robert,
I think we should give out like free T-shirts for the quote of the day, post of the day. Brandon Garner. I try not to mix up the Africans and view them as interchangeable, but then they mix up their own bibs, and that doesn't help. I mean, 100%, right? Like the announcers were apologizing, but I'm like, come on. I mean, I guess if it was an American, if Jimmy Gressier wore Grant Fisher's bib, it wouldn't be an issue. But anyways, very good comment, Brandon.
Okay, so the steeples, women's, I don't think there's much to talk about. Faith Cheretich, she was the only one of the big three, her, Yavi, and Ruth Chematai, who actually showed up. She won it comfortably, 8:56. Good run, not really much to add there. The men's steeple, Africa, Kenya specifically owned this for years. The first 7 years of the Diamond League, Kenya won 47 of the 49 men's steeplechases. And the only one there was 2 that they didn't win. And one of them was because it happened like 2 days before the Kenyan trials. So really, it would have been like 48, 49. And now they're nowhere to be seen. No Diamond League victories at all for Kenya this year. 17-year-old Edmund Serem gave it his best shot. He was battling with Frederick Rupert. They were together coming off the final turn. And Rupert, the German, who has had a big breakthrough, has run 8:01 this year. He's your Diamond League champion. He had the most the last 100. And this remains a wide open event going into Worlds, but Rupert certainly looking like he was with El Bakali, or at least close to El Bakali when they raced earlier this year, and runs 8:09, gets the victory here, going to Worlds as the Diamond League champion. So he's certainly in with the medal shot, but then you've got Miura from Japan. I think Rooks will be up there, and especially if it's one of these things where it's a slow race like it was in 2022, then who the hell knows? It's basically whoever's in the final is going to have a shot. But I'm looking through the list of Diamond League champions in the steeplechase. 2010 through 2018, Kenya all the way. Getnet Wale breaks the streak in 2019. He wins it. And then we had Benjamin Keegan, Sufyan El Bakali, Simon Koech, and Amos Saram. So even in Kenya's downswing, they've still won 3 of the last 4 Diamond League titles. Obviously, El Bakali has been the guy on the world stage. Kind of amazing that Lemaitre Gomez never won a Diamond League title. And he's another guy. He's raced 1 steeple this year, and it went pretty well. I guess add him to the list of Ethiopians who are just totally MIA. He won in Paris in 8:07 on June 20th. That's the only time we've seen him in all of 2025. So what's up with that guy? Is he going to be a factor at World? Like, a lot of questions, but I think the one thing we can say is El Bakali is the clear favorite, and then lots and lots of question marks behind him.
Dan Mahowski, supporters club member. Gonna shock the world. Now, there was one other comment I wanted to make. I just, while you were doing your monologue there, John, I put you in just so they could see your beautiful face. I ran out to the car to get my notes. I think they were saying Mahari's uncle was Gebre Gebremarian. Is that true?
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, there's an article on it, I think, by Hannah Barnstein a few weeks ago. He was, Gebre Gebremarian, former New York City Marathon champion. Did he win World Cross? I think he won World Cross in 2009 as well.
He did. And yeah, anyways, I was thinking like, what I was thinking.
Did you have a point to make there, Robert? I thought you went and got your super notes.
Well, Gebre Gebremarian, I was thinking he was Mr. Silver, but that was Salisi Sahini. So the double names. I was thinking I got the guys confused. I was like, should we start calling Grant Fisher like Mr. Podium, but not Mr. Gold Medal? But Grant's going to win the gold. We know that. We're going to make the shirt. We'll have to make it, instead of red and white, we'll make it gold and white. And then he'll have his shirt. But yeah, that's all the distances, right? 8, 15, steeple, 5.
We hit them all. So I would say let's.
In terms of other action, Christian Coleman won the 100. I thought that was nice. I think some people think because his father listened to this podcast and said I was on Professional Hack and one of the message boards thinks that I hate Christian Coleman. I don't. But when he got off on the drug technicality the first time, I said, look, this guy needs to prove to people he's clean. Take drug tests the rest of his life. And then he got suspended after that. So that was disappointing to me as a fan. But I love the way he's handled the Sha'Carri Richardson thing. I love the way that she's been saying nice things about Christian, even though they had obviously a videotape disagreement in the airport. And by the way, if you haven't seen it, on the homepage, Jonathan Gall breaking the story. Some outlets had reported that the case had been cleared. And John told me at the time, he's like, that's not true. They don't understand what cleared means. On the forum, it says cleared. That means like the police were cleared of their duties. It didn't mean that the prosecutor still had 72 hours to decide whether they're going to press the charges. They decided to press charges with a 4th degree misdemeanor. Sha'Carri is due in court on Tuesday. Her lawyer is trying to negotiate something, so she may not even have to attend. She doesn't have to attend court if she doesn't want to. Her lawyer could do it for her, or things could be solved before then. Someone at the beginning of the show was making the chat and saying like, they were clearly making a joke, but they were saying something like, it's disappointing that Coleman won't be going to Worlds, but his abuser will be. Yes, that's true. And if the sexes were reversed, this situation would clearly be much different. Much different. If a man was throwing stuff at a woman and shoving her in public, and then I don't think that they would be competing with her. But guys, men and women aren't the same. We're different. Men generally are significantly stronger than women and could really hurt women. Sha'Carri, pretty strong for a woman. She's not going to hurt Christian Coleman. So just get over the double standard. If it's not that hard to understand. So rant over, John.
Robert, in terms of Coleman winning the race, though, it's an interesting situation because he's the Diamond League champion, and yet he's not going to the World Championships because he didn't finish top 3 at USA's, and then USA has the bye, but it's going to Noah Lyles because he's the defending world champion, and that takes precedence the way USATF selects their teams. Now, I guess I would ask you, should it be that way? I think our preference is just eliminate the bye for reigning world champions because that makes 100%. USA a more competitive meet. And most
you're on a media call today with Seb Coe, World Athletics Head, and one of the questions you said you're going to ask me, I couldn't believe it. I thought this was great. You said, do you want to get rid of the buys? Did you ask him that question? What did he say?
I did ask him. We were told that we're supposed to embargo the contents of that call, so I can write about it later and discuss it. But
so John proposed this. John and I opposed the buy. Why? You're rewarding somebody for 2 years ago. They could be not informed. Like, why? It kills the drama of the USA meet. If you want to reward excellence, and I get it, the only thing I can think of this scenario is like, let's say in America had an Usain Bolt type star. You don't want them to false start at USA's and then not get to go to Worlds. So the road to a false start rule of instead of DQing someone from the final, if they're ranked in the top 5 in the world, you just back them up a meter or something like that and have it be based on the world ranking. So yes, we treat the stars differently. The average guy, we're tossing them out. The Bolt, we're moving him a meter back in the championship in the trial run so he can get to go to Worlds, because otherwise you don't need it. Like if they're not in form, unless they're getting tripped or false starting, they should be informed at USA's, and you're rewarding somebody from 2 years. So I would be maybe for, if you want to reward the country and give them an extra spot, fine. So we get 4, but you battle it out at Worlds. What races were they excited about today? The commentators were excited about the races when there was world spots in the line because the Americans had not performed. So you and I agree. We can't be worried about, oh, it's unfair or someone gets behind. Like that's sport, and it makes sport
Right.
good.
But well, I guess the argument could be then, well, Coleman didn't make the team. That's sport, and he gets left behind. Like, but I also, there was a debate on the live thread on the message board saying, should the U.S., if we're not going to eliminate these buys, should the U.S. get a 5th spot? Should countries, if you have the reigning world champion and the Diamond League champion in an event, should you be able to take 5 people to Worlds?
Why not? If they're given the buy, that why
yes.
they limit the country?
Look, if your country is good enough to have the reigning world champion and the Diamond League champion, and that Diamond League champion, to me, all right, you've clearly got 5 world-class athletes. Like, I'm not really opposed, and they're saying, okay, it's supposed to be about inclusion, the world championships, but like, this is only going to happen in a couple events per year, and I just like to have the best athletes there if we can, and that's fine. So fine if you want to cut it 3, but like, if a country is good enough to get both buys, I say let that country have 5 people at the World Championships.
I'm not opposed to it. Big picture wise, what did you think of having the Diamond League final before Worlds? I think this is the first time in history this has been the case.
No, it happened in 2019, and I like it. I think it's, well, there are benefits and drawbacks. I would say this field was weaker than what you would normally get at a Diamond League final. If you go back to 23 or 24 when they had the final after the Global Championships, those fields were stronger. But there was a bit more on the line with some of these guys going for the wild card spots. I like that.
But if they didn't have what if they had all qualified? Would we have liked it? It might have been a worse Diamond League final. I liked it because of the wild cards for the U.S. guys. But let's say Hoey and Nuguse take care of business. I would have been maybe a little bit disappointed with this race because then Nuguse said he wanted to run this race regardless, but some of these guys skip it, it would have been down. So I was looking forward to it. And I often thought it often bothered me that people were like skipping Diamond Leagues afterwards, but you have them skipping it before. So I was really excited going in. And then afterwards, I'm like, it doesn't really matter. It's just, there's nothing they can do. Like the Worlds is going to be the biggest meet. Whether it's before or after, we're still going to have the same problem.
Yeah. Well, I think 2020 moving forward, they want to have Worlds as the last meet of the year. So it's going to be like this continuing, and we'll have it in 2027. And next year we'll have the Diamond League final, and then we'll have the Ultimate Championships. That's going to be the last meet of the year. So yeah, I think I like having it before the World Championships, but I would say leave it open to if we need to change things. If you're just getting year after year, the top athletes are skipping the Diamond League final to prepare for Worlds, then I would say, all right, maybe we need to reevaluate the format. But 2019, I think we got some pretty good fields. Like I know Sydney McLaughlin even ran the Diamond League final in 2019.
I might have the only one she's ever
run, I think.
There was probably a bigger gap, right?
That one, I think it was a slightly bigger gap if I look at the timeline.
I would like to have it maybe a month out. It's the last big race, but
I think that's what it was.
To me, like some of these fields, it was just kind of like, whatever. The 400s were interesting. They said that Nasser versus Paulino, I couldn't believe the head-to-head. They said that like Nasser only won one time head-to-head against Paulino, but she beat her today.
Rob, my takeaway from this was I think I'm going to pick Sydney McLaughlin to win the World Championships. And I know that's crazy to say considering NASA looked really good and she ran 48.7, but she's been a little inconsistent. Paulino, Steve Cram said it multiple times. I agree. I think maybe it's been a kind of long season. These are two. I mean, Sydney also did Grand Slam track, but I think she wasn't ripping it right out of the gate like these two were in the 400 in Kingston. So I just think, look, Bobby Kersey, we've criticized him for coaching a Thingmo in the 800. He always peaks Sydney really, really well. And I think I think she could run like 48, finally get that American record, run maybe 48 mid at the World Championships and get the gold. I think that's kind of my gut instinct from watching this race. Maybe that's disrespectful to NASA.
Well, that's a great point. That's why we pay you, John, because I watched it and they're like, wow, look at the time. It seemed impressive. But I'm looking at this right now on my stat sheet here. She ran 48.70 today. Do you know what she ran at Kingston on
48.67?
48.67. So off the bat, first meet of the season, she's better than she was today. And Paulina was basically the same. Paulina was 49.3 in Kingston and 49.2 today. So these women have basically been, there's been a 48. Here's Nasser, 48.6, 49.3, 48.8, 49.3, 48.7. So she goes 48, 49, 48, 49, 48 all season long. Paulina's been 49, 49, 49, 48, 49, 49. She's been consistently in the 49s. That's a great take. I think, yeah. Be interesting to see what the betting odds are on that one.
And then the other one I wanted to talk about was the men's 200.
Well, I thought that was real quick about the men's 400. I thought Jacory Patterson looked great again. He's really having a nice season, consistently balling out.
Oh yeah, he's the favorite for Worlds, I think, at this point, because we know there's not going to be a Quincy Hall. Zakithi Nene of South Africa is the world leader at 43.76, but that was back in May. I just think, yeah, like you said, Patterson looked great in this one, ran well at USA's. Matt Hudson-Smith will be up there as well. But Patterson has now 3 of the top 5 times in the world this year. So I think going into Worlds, would you have him or Hudson-Smith as the guy to beat?
Probably Patterson. He 43.85 today. Second was 44.40.
Yeah.
And I would like to say, I thought Vernon Norwood, he was third, 44.45. He's just such a class act. Like, he looked genuinely happy for Patterson. I gave him a high five.
Of course he was happy, because Patterson winning meant that he gets to go to the World Championships. Oh, wow. Norwood was 4th at USA, so Patterson unlocked the bye. I mean, Norwood is well liked on the circuit, but he had very big incentive to be happy.
Maybe I didn't realize that at the time.
No, I realized it immediately. I'm like, yeah, of course.
Did they say that?
I don't think they said it on the broadcast. They should have. But no, all right, men's 200. I just thought this was great. 1974 for Lyles, 1976 for Wanyonyi. Sorry, not Wanyonyi, Tobogo. And it was like in the 60s in Zurich, and it was into a little headwind, 0.6. So it came right down to the wire. I thought Lyles was going to get him, but Tobogo held on for a very long time. This is great. Just give me that again 3 weeks later in Tokyo. It's going to be awesome. They're very close in ability. The weather will be a little bit better. The Olympic champion against the world champion. That was exactly what I wanted to see. I'm really excited. And the good thing, like Tobogo, that was the thing. I know Lyles was good. Tobogo he had that one great race at Pre, but his outdoor season's been pretty disappointing to this point, honestly. And I thought he'd be a lot better than he was in Monaco. Lyles didn't have to run that fast to beat him. So this was definitely a step forward for Tobogo, and I think it's shaping up as one of the events for the World Championships in Tokyo.
Yeah, and yesterday what struck me was that there's a message board that I started on this, but they had some nice things to say about each other. So much in sports, I think you have to hate each other, and they create these pre-race dramas where people spit on each other. And Lyles like, I want to run the fastest time I ever run in the rain. By the way, the weather was supposed to be raining and terrible, and Warholm talked about the rain. Lyles talked about the rain, then it didn't rain. But, Tobogo's like, well, I can help him push him to do that. And then they asked, there was another clip, which I don't think I put on the message board yet, but they asked both of them, what do you think the other one's strength is? Or what do you most appreciate about them? And Noah's like, well, I really like that he can do it all. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's like, there used to be guys that can do the 1 and 2. Now no one can do it. He can go all the way up to 4. He's just a very versatile sprinter. And then Tobogo said about Lyles, did you see this, John? He's like, well, his top end speed is the best. But then he said, as you saw in London, it's hard to get that. I've never seen him that fast. But wasn't London the race where he was gaining on Lyles in the 200 last year?
It was 2023, but yes.
So I didn't know if he was digging him. That's not normally his style, but he's like, as you saw in London, he has the best top end speed. But I'm like, well, wait, you were catching him. So I feel like they have a nice relationship.
Yeah, well, I think he's talking about the 100 in London, where he got dusted, and he's the Olympic 100-meter champion.
Oh, okay.
But no, it's good. They're not the same kind of personality, but I think they both respect each other, and it's going to be really good. Tobogo didn't seem very pleased reading some of the quotes he said afterwards. This is not my true potential right now. I feel there is still a lot more in the tank that people need to see. I take this as big motivation for my training, and from tomorrow until the last day of the 200-meter final, I have to give it all my best. So
that's going to be much-see drama, because as All in the Game says, this is his first race in 6 weeks. He clearly, early in the season, and I don't blame him, running just every race like for money. And then we're like, what's going to happen? He's going to be burned out. He's not going to get the peak right. This is a sign to me that he's getting the peak right. He's got 2-3 weeks. Exciting stuff. All right, folks. Well, John, I don't think John gives himself enough credit. John has reported that Sha'Carri Richardson was charged, even though major media outlets said she was cleared. We have it up exclusively on letsrun.com. It is a state of modern journalism. Like, one outlet will make a mistake. There aren't that many journalists left. And then every other outlet that does no journalism just repeats the other outlet without citing them. Like, the first outlet was The Athletic, and then everybody else just cited Athletic and said she was cleared. They said she was cleared without citing The Athletic, but the only person who originally said she was cleared was The Athletic, because the forum did say cleared. And John explained to me right away on that day, like, cleared does not mean she's been cleared of the charges. They have 72 hours to press charges. They did press charges. So, John, applause to you for your great journalism. You're the only journalist left in sport. Supporters Club members, we love you. You're the best. We promise you a 15-minute bonus podcast every week, but we always give you at least one, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 bonus podcasts. Today, we've gone over an hour 15. Now, it may not appear in your feed. It's interesting. We're at 122 live right now. Let's see how much silence the software takes out.
Wow. All right, two more things. Sydney Marathon is on Saturday afternoon, everyone. So enjoy that. I don't know if we're going to have a reaction show. I mean, this is the Friday 15, so we won't have one tomorrow, but Kipchoge and Hassan. So enjoy it. It's like 4:30 p.m. Eastern, I believe. And FlowTrack has the rights there. I'm disappointed. Cowboys are trading Micah Parsons to the Packers. I was holding out hope the Patriots might get him. We had a lot of cap space left. And
maybe I'll become a Cowboys
fan. Paul
Weldon.
Weldon's going to land back in San Francisco. Weldon's going to land back in San Francisco and find out that the Cowboys just traded their best player. So
Brandon Garner's demanding a Jonathan Gold fan club T-shirt next. What would we do? Like, draw like kind of a balding guy with a Red Sox cap on backwards and a Speedo at a poolside bar with a couple women around his shoulders.
Speedo.
Yeah, like a Brighton jersey, maybe.
I don't know.
You know, like a sketch. Kind of like we're boring fiction.
All right, this is the sign we have to cut off. And
by the way, it's 5:00. Totally sober here. People may have been thinking I'm drinking beer. I've not. I've been drinking. John, this is how I'm getting old. I'm drinking a non-alcoholic light beer. 25 calories. I couldn't find a Coke that was cold, so I just grabbed this.
Robert, how much
the Scott Van Pelt logo. That's what
is that just water, or does it actually taste like beer?
It tastes enough like beer to fool you.
Okay. Well, as long as it tastes like beer to you. Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Have a great Friday. We'll see you back next week. Maybe have some takes on the Sydney Marathon. Till then.